Millions and millions of Americans right now are going without paying their bills. They can't afford it. And what if I told you that even people making $100,000 per year are struggling to keep up with their bills? Yes, that means people making more than $50 per hour are struggling to keep up with their bills. That is insane. Now, I want to break down what's going on, what is contributing to more people opting out of paying their bills. This means credit cards, auto loans, insurance, utilities, mortgages, all these things going unpaid, and that is going to hurt millions and millions of more people. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. So I remember many years ago where I was talking to very rich people, and they were saying that if you make $100,000 per year, you are good. You are golden, because that is more money than you would need. What's crazy about that is that was only about 7-8 years ago. Now, here in 2024, leading into 2025, $100,000 is not a lot of money, at least according to many experts. But look at this. This is what I think is interesting. Americans are struggling to pay their bills. It says Gen X and Boomers are struggling the most. What's interesting about all this is how much people are struggling, why they're struggling. Is it because of their mortgage, because of credit card debt, because of insurance costs, medical bills, student loans? What is it? Well, it's a mixture of all those things. But this is what I think is scary, frightening, to say the least. It says about 1 in 3 Americans making 6-figure salaries are worried about paying their bills. This is according to a new survey from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. Now, if you make $100,000 per year, that means you are making $8,333 per month. What's even crazier is that you would be making, if you worked 160 hours a month, which is 40 hours a week, you would be making about $52, a little bit over $52 per hour. That's what's insane. But what's even crazier is the average hourly earnings in July 2024, the average hourly earnings here in the United States were $35.07. So the average hourly earnings are $35.07, yet people are making $52 per hour are struggling to pay their bills. That is a $17 per hour difference. $17 per hour. This means that you are making more. Okay, the gap is more than what the minimum wage is in the highest paying state. Yeah. Now, if we exclude California and what fast food workers are receiving at $20 per hour. But again, this is more than what minimum wage is in the highest paying state. That's what's insane about all this. But I want to show you this. Because one of the things that we have been told is that the American people are able to get by. We have money. We're perfectly fine. We are not struggling. We have ways to pay bills, put food on the table, keep a roof over our head. However, then we were told that no, we have access to money. But they were talking about like taking equity out of your home and using credit cards. Well, look at this issue. Americans continue to rack up credit card debt, hitting a record $1.14 trillion in credit card debt. Yeah, we continue to go up. Now, probably think, well, if we just continue to rack up debt, why don't we just pay it off? If we're making potentially $35 an hour, we should have a little bit of money saved up at the end of the month. We could start paying down our debt. Yes and no. Look at this. The average consumer now carries $6,329 in credit card debt. Experts say people are stretched. Now I want to show you the key points here. It says collectively, Americans owe $1.14 trillion on their credit card. The average credit card balance is now $6,329. It says, as consumers lean on credit cards, more borrowers are also falling behind on their payments, both reports show. Now, this isn't new information. People have been falling behind on credit cards for years. But now these creditors are asking you to make a payment. They're asking you to do something. Whatever you can afford, pay it. And now some of these companies are closing accounts, are reducing the amount of credit that they are going to give you. That is going to hurt you even more. I remember saying this a couple years ago, where credit card companies, they were going to start to limit the amount of credit they allowed you to have. I remember telling you about a friend of mine. He sold stuff on Amazon. His credit line got reduced by about a 3/4. It went from, I think it was like $60,000 was how much he had, and they reduced it down to $15,000. His business ended up closing as a result. But again, this is just the times that we're in. Now, but why is everything, getting more expensive? Why are people struggling? Why are we, putting stuff on credit cards? Well, look at this. 98% of California fast food restaurants had to raise prices due to the $20 minimum wage hike. Yeah, that will cause more pain. Disney, they announced just recently they're going to raise their streaming prices for Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus. Right, we learned that just recently. It says the cost will go from $1 to $2 per month as an increase. Yeah, that's going to hurt. But you know what really hurts? Stuff like this, where full coverage car insurance rose on average of 26% in 2024. It says in some states premiums rose more than 40%. But what's really interesting is some of these auto insurance companies, some of these mortgage insurance companies like over in Florida, even in California, they want to raise prices by as much as 52%. Yeah, the price increases are not over. So think about that for a second. You think Americans are going to want to pay their bill when they see a increase of potentially 52% in a year? No, not when we just saw a 26% increase. But again, this is just the beginning. People can't pay their bills because they are not making enough, which goes back to the potential minimum wage crisis. They are not working enough hours. The average work week is not even 35 hours per week. It's 34 something. So people are not even working 40 hours. They're working potentially 20 hours less per week. If you make $20 an hour, that's $400 that you are not getting. Okay? $400 that you are not getting. Think about that. Okay? That's $100 per week that you are missing out on. $400 per month that you're missing out on. That could be a car payment. That could cover some of your food. That could cover fuel. That could cover your utilities, right? Medical bills, a lot of things. $400 per month. So this is why experts believe these bills are going unpaid. Because people are worried about keeping a roof over their head and keeping food on the table. Those two things. So in order to do those two things, can't pay my insurance payment. Some people are simply just getting rid of insurance. They don't have car insurance, don't have health insurance. They're trying to get rid of mortgage insurance, right? They don't want any of this because they can't afford it. Others, they're not paying their student loan debt. Some are not paying medical bills. They're just letting it go, right? We are seeing the amount of collections increase. We are seeing just delinquencies are rising. Some of the fastest rate we've seen in over 12 years just for credit cards. Auto loans are going unpaid. The amount of cars that are going back to dealerships, back to these banks, the numbers are going up. But here's what's interesting. And I was talking to a friend of mine who just did this. I had no clue, but he couldn't pay his payment. And so he decided he was going to take the car and just give it back to the bank. Here's what the bank told him. That he is responsible for whatever amount they that he still owes on top of what they get out of the auction. So his car ended up selling, I think, for like $16,000. He owed, I think, like $19,000 on it or something like that. And so they told him that he's still responsible for the other $2,000 to $3,000. Most people don't know that. Most people have no clue that when they give it back to the bank, they're still responsible for the entire amount. All the bank's going to do is try to sell the car. They're just going to sell the car at an auction. They're going to get less than what it's actually worth, and you're going to have to foot the bill. So even though you can't pay your bills, you got to try to. You have to attempt it. Call the banks. Call the credit card companies. Call your insurance company. Let them know the situation, because at the last thing you want is they are now having to charge you for something that you had no clue you're on the hook for. So I will leave you with that, but just understand right now that millions and millions of Americans cannot pay their bills. Bills are going unpaid, and it could only get worse. So as we get more information as to where we go from here, what happens in the near future, I promise I will bring you all the latest news and updates. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.